Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 6th of January and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So guys, let's start with the video. In today's video, we are going to discuss entire analysis of the Hindu newspaper. We will see all articles that are related and relevant to our examination. We will see background and the way forward in relevant articles. Now let's start with the video, but before that I would like to tell you that you can download the entire synoptic notes, explainer notes of our video from the Telegram channel, and the Telegram channel has been, the link for Telegram channel has been given in description box in YouTube, or you can directly visit Telegram and then there you can search by typing Thinking Palette by Sahil. You will get the channel and from there you can download the notes. Now let's start with the overview of the today's newspaper. So guys, the first article that we see here is decennial census put off till September to freeze boundaries. We'll see this particular article, guys, because the census was to be held, but it has been delayed and postponed. So the static dimensions with respect to the census and all those things will be taking up, particularly with respect to the prelims and population related issues will take this article. Then other articles, Supreme Court thwarts eviction from railway land in Haldwani, not containing much substance with respect to the examination. Then these advertisements etc. are there. City section, political news, tenders etc. have been given, not important to go in these particular articles. Fine. Then guys, moving on in this particular direction. Okay, so we have a Metro Plus and all such things. Now here, there is one article that I want to show you is important for the examination. Asian elephant has lost most of its optimal habitat. So we'll understand what is optimal habitat and some important dimensions for the prelims examination we are going to see here. Then coming to editorial section, the first article, stabilizing ties with Nepal. We'll see this article with respect to the examination. Then side article, freedom in authority. So this article talks about a recent judgment by the Supreme Court on the scope of freedom of speech by the ministers. We'll see this article. Then below article, towards making India an uplinking hub. We'll see this article with respect to the examination. Then a green promise. Now this particular article, guys, is on the national green hydrogen mission that has been cleared recently by the cabinet. Now many articles are there on this particular line. Even in yesterday's newspaper analysis we have discussed this particular article. Then moving on, should India be alarmed by China's COVID surge? Not relevant article for exam because it is a very evolutionary kind of a detail. Now there is a spike in COVID cases in China. After 6 months, the situation will completely be changed. So not at all need to go in this particular article. Then further moving on, this is a notebook article, a data person to a data journalist. So guys, here a personal stories by the journalist fine is given. Now the article doesn't contains much of a substance here, so no need to go in this detail. Then coming to text and context, first article, India's plan to develop green hydrogen. Now again, I have already shown you that there is a similar article on editorial also. Okay, we'll see this. Then further moving on, why is Japan offering money to move out of Tokyo? We'll see this particular article, guys, with respect to as how population pressure forces the states to change their policies. We'll see this article. Then further moving on, now this is a limelight article, hiding behind monsters, spotting the queer in Hollywood's horror movies. Now if you want, you can read it as a leisurely read, but article doesn't contains much of academic substance for examination. Then moving on in this particular direction, majorly the political news etc. has been given, but here strategic dialogue between India and France is being discussed. We'll see this particular article. Then guys, here below article, center plans to promote India as a global hub for green hydrogen. We'll take this article also. Above article also will take Rajnath reviews infrastructure upgrade in the Port Blair. So basically, guys, when we talk about Andaman and Nicobar Island, Andaman and Nicobar are strategic. They are basically, they can be compared with the arms of India in the Indian Ocean. Now there is the infrastructural upgrade that is going on, fine, so that the Andaman Nicobar command can be developed. Okay, so just defense minister has visited and reviewed that what progress is going on. Beyond that, much important substance is not given in the article. Then moving on, DGC asks Air India to explain laxity in responding to women's complaints. So there was an unruly behavior that happened. Okay, action was not taken. So that thing is there. Not important for your exam. No need to go. Then again, nothing is important here. Now here guys, there are two very important articles that we can see. UGC unveils draft norms to allow foreign universities. Very important article with respect to the national education policy. We'll take it. House panel seeks detailed of rental housing scheme. This article also we'll see with respect to exam. Then further moving on here, then we come on to the world page. No action from government on Tamil's concern state TNA. Stalemate in speaker race as McCarthy fails to win lawmakers support. Now basically guys, 800 Russian soldiers killed. So in the world page again we don't find much of substance which can be relevant for IRGS paper number 2. Okay, these are evolutionary details. Okay, the statements, counter statements, and just the evolutionary political details that are there. No need to go too much in detail. Then coming to business page, retail auto sales slid in December. Okay, so the auto sales trend fine. Then the Amazon is going to cut jobs by 18,000. Okay, a huge green hydrogen subsidy distorts trade. This article will take. Okay, then industry wants import levy on natural rubber removed. Fine. So these are the corporate trends, and then we have the sports page. Okay, so this is overview of entire newspaper, and now let's discuss all relevant articles that are important for our exam one by one in detail. As I told you, you can download the PDF synoptic notes. Fine. So please download it, and I'll highly be insisting on that because it is going to help you a lot. Now, before starting, in every class we take a quotation for complementing our answers in GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4 or in essay. So today we'll take quotation from Barack Obama. So Obama says, learning to stand in somebody else's shoe, to see through their eyes, that's how peace begins. And it's up to you to make that happen. Empathy is a quality of character that can change the world. Fine. Now, this particular idea can be used for GS paper number 4 ethics. Within GS paper number 4 ethics, there is a topic of foundational values. And in foundational values, empathy has directly been written in our syllabus. Now, what do we understand by empathy? Empathy means to step in the shoes of another person, to feel the pain of that person, and after realizing the pain of that person, you need to act. Now, the precondition for peace, precondition for tolerance, precondition for accommodation is empathy, because till the time you will not be able to understand other person's pain, you cannot propagate peace. Fine, tolerance, accommodation will not come. So learning to stand in somebody else's shoes, seeing through their eyes, it will start the peace, and it's up to you if you want to follow that or not. And if you want to follow, empathy is the quality of character that is needed, and it can change the world. Now this idea can be used very effectively, as I told you, in GS4. Now taking up first article from the today's newspaper. Okay, now first of all let's read the heading. Okay, and then we'll see that in which part of our paper the article will be important. So UGC unveils, okay, UGC unveils draft norms, okay, allowing foreign universities to set up campuses in India. Okay, now this particular article will be important for GS paper number 2, will be important for GS paper number 2, issues related to education. Okay, now before going in this particular article, we are going to take some background information which is very much important. So basically, recently new education policy or national education policy 2020 was launched. Now this is third national education policy of India. Before that we got the first education policy in 1968, then we got the second education policy in 1986, it got amended in 1992, and third education policy came in 2020, that is national education policy. Now this particular policy has focused on bringing reforms in education at two fronts. Number one, school education is to be reformed, and number two, higher education is to be reformed. Now when we talk about the school education, you might have heard about reforms such as 10+2 system of schooling will be replaced with 5+3+3+4 system. Then there will be no strict categorization between humanities and sciences. Okay, vocational courses such as coding, etc., can be learned in the school. Okay, all these things are there, which are the school level reforms. Now the article that we are going to discuss here, it talks about the reforms at the higher education level which are being discussed here. Okay, now certain more things I want to tell you guys here is that you understand this particular thing, that when we talk about India, for from so many of years we find that there is brain drain that's going on. There is brain drain that's going on. Okay, now brain drain is happening because of two reasons. Number one, more lucrative jobs have existed in West. Okay, secondly, lucrative job opportunities, and second, and in fact the most important point has been the quality of education. Now if I give you data according to QS world ranking, according to latest QS world ranking, actually they have released the 2023 QS world ranking, and as per that only 3 institutions are in top 200. Only 3 institutions, that is IISc Bangalore. Okay, IISc Bangalore is among them, and IIT is there. Okay, so only 3 institutions in the top 200: IISc Bangalore, IIT Mumbai, IIT Delhi. So point is that we don't have in terms of higher education good institutions. Okay, because only 3 are there in top 200. Now what government is thinking? Government is thinking that why don't we bring the foreign institutions in India? Why don't we invite the foreign institutions, that they come in India and they open their branches in India? Is it clear or not? One thing I want to tell you, the data that I'm giving you here is from QS world ranking. Fine, QS Asia Pacific ranking are different. In that we have some good ranks, but in world ranking only 3 institutions are there. So therefore, now the proposal has come that foreign universities will be invited in India. They will open their campuses, and in that particular thing, now UGC, University Grants Commission, has released their guidelines that how that particular thing will be taken up. Okay, now so now the article will begin. So you need to have this particular background in your mind first to understand that what this article is actually all about. Okay. Now let me zoom it first so that you can see it very clearly. Okay. So basically, as we have discussed, new education policy has envisioned that top universities in the world will be facilitated to operate in India. Why? So that the brain drain that is happening for higher education, it can be restricted back, it can be retained back. India is now emerging to be the manufacturing hub because of the PLI scheme, DLI scheme that we have brought. Already in service sector, we have a lot of might in the world, and then government is also working on other sectors. So we want to retain our human capital. So therefore, foreign universities will be allowed. Now, for that particular thing, we need to have certain things in place. Number one, a legislative framework is needed. Fine, we need to have a specific law, specific rules and regulation facilitating that thing. Already new education policy had provided it, but some more legislative framework will be needed, which government will bring. Then second, what we need to ensure that the universities that will come in India, they should be given some special dispensation. They needs to be given some special powers with respect to regulation. They should be self-regulatory, or as far as possible, more and more autonomy needs to be given to them. Fine, regulatory, governance, content norms, they need to be given on par with other autonomous institutions of India. Is it clear or not? So this is something that they expect. And now the UGC had provided this particular thing, that now the foreign universities, educational institutions, they can set up their campus in India, and they will be given considerable autonomy. They will be given considerable autonomy. Now understand this particular thing. In 1970s, there was one committee that was constituted, Gajendra Gadkar Committee. Now the article doesn't mention about that, but Gajendra Gadkar Committee, fine, Gajendra Gadkar Committee. Gajendra Gadkar committee very specifically provided in 1970s that autonomy is a very important matter for a higher educational institution. Autonomy doesn't mean that they will completely be independent, but autonomy means that they should be given power to design their own courses. They should be given the power to design the pedagogy, the teaching methodology with respect to the curriculum. They need to be given power. So Gajendra Gadkar committee has emphasized this thing. But now autonomy is being taken seriously, and that thing can be seen here in the UGC draft also, where they have been said that foreign institutions can come and considerable autonomy will be given to them in the matters of determining fees, as well as there will be a 90-day approval process in which they will be given clearances. Now, if any foreign institution, for example, let's say Stanford University, okay, Stanford, MIT, okay, Oxford, any of them wants to open their campus, what they have to do, number one, they need to have a rank within 500 global rankings. For example, QS World Ranking is there, Times Higher Educational Institution ranking are there. Within that, within top 500, they needs to be there. Okay, then they need to apply to a standing committee. Now, this standing committee will be appointed by UGC. Now, the standing committee will give recommendation to UGC that this XYZ university have applied. They will give their recommendation within 45 days. After that, now they will examine institution's credibility. They will examine the programs that are offered by that university. Are those programs relevant for India? The potential to strengthen educational opportunities, how that particular thing will help in enhancement of educational standards. Fine, it should not be the case that they are coming only for making money here. No, they should be able to strengthen the educational opportunities in India. So if those particular criteria are being fulfilled, then the standing committee will send the proposal to UGC, and then UGC will take 45 more days. So in total 90 days, approval will be given. Now, the principal approval that will be given is that within 2 years, they can start their campus, and the first approval will be given for 10 years. And after 10 years, this particular approval can also be extended. Is it clear? So this is the process. Now, it has been provided that the campuses that will be opened up, they will have its own admission process. For example, they want to admit students on the basis of some test. They want to admit student on basis of some interview or on marks. So they will be given power. This is all autonomy. So they will be given power to have their own admission process. Fine. Criteria for admission of domestic, foreign students, autonomy to decide the fees, structure, fine, and will face no caps, fine, that are imposed on Indian institutions. So it will attract. Moreover, they will also be given autonomy to recruit faculty and staff, either Indian faculty, or if they want to recruit faculty from some other country, they will be independent to do that particular thing. Now, this is very important point, guys. The courses that they are going to be offered, it cannot be in online mode, and they cannot be open or a distance type of courses. They have to be professionally taught offline courses. Okay, so online or distance courses cannot be offered by them, because for that particular thing we are already having the Indira Gandhi National Open Universities, which is giving the distance courses, okay, or on online courses also. There are many mechanisms. Then next thing is that, guys, that these particular universities will also be allowed to transfer their fund to their own home countries. For example, they are collecting fees. Now, for example, the Stanford University of USA have opened the campus in India. Now the fees they have to transfer back. So for that particular thing, they will be allowed for cross-border movement of funds, maintenance of foreign currency account, okay, mode of payment, remittances, reparation, all these particular things they can decide, and under the Foreign Exchange Management Act, they will be given to permission to move these funds, etc. So this is all about this regulation by UGC to allow foreign universities to open their campuses in India, which will help in arresting the substantial brain drain that is happening. And moreover, India can also become an educational hub of the neighboring countries. For example, people in Nepal who cannot afford to go to US, but they want to take education of Stanford degree if they want, they can come in India. So so the neighboring nations, emerging nations, okay, low and medium income group countries, even the underdeveloped countries, the students from there, they can come to India, and India can become an educational hub. This is a very important dimension of this particular article. Now, moving to next article. Okay. Now, this particular article, guys, first of all, I'll show you the article and then we'll see that what the article is all about. Okay, so House panel seeks details of rental housing scheme. Now, this particular article will be important with respect to GS2 social justice as well as urbanization, and its challenges. There, this article will also be important. Now, before going in this particular article, again, I will give you background first and then we'll go in this particular article. So, basically, 2020. We have seen this particular thing, that biggest reverse migration happened in India. Okay, large number of people, migrant workers, they started to move back to their villages. Why? Because lockdown was announced. Okay, people were threatened that how they will be able to afford 2 square meals, how they will be able to pay the rent. So they've started to walk back. And at that point of a time, it was realized that what are the reasons that these people are going back. Number one, employment. Number two, food. And number three, accommodation. Okay, so it was realized that we need to provide affordable housings to the migrant people who are living in some other states. As of now, guys, it is being provided by the Niti Aayog that by 2030 41% of Indian people will be living in urban towns, and out of that, substantial people will be migrants. They will come from the other states. Is it clear or not? So there is so much migrant population, but they don't have affordable housings when they are living in some other cities. So at that point of a time, it was provided by the government that government will come out with an urban housing scheme. Okay, it was provided that the government will come out with the urban housing scheme because the harsh reality of millions of people got exposed. These workers are an integral part of the urban economy. They are integral part of the metropolitan cities, but they don't have any place in urban planning. There are no housing programs. And after, in 2020 itself, government came out with affordable rental housing scheme. Affordable rental housing scheme. Now, this particular scheme was not an independent scheme. This scheme got launched as a part of existing Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Urban. So, under this ARHC, Affordable Rental Housing Scheme was launched. This particular scheme specifically emphasized that rental houses will be provided to the urban poor people, particularly the migrants, and these affordable rental housings will be provided specifically near to their workplace. Okay. Now, under this affordable rental housing scheme, there were actually two components that were launched. Number one, model 1, and then there was model 2. Model 1 was this, that existing government buildings, existing government places, they will be modified, they will be refitted, and existing government buildings will be provided as a rental houses to the migrant and urban poor people. This will be the PPP, public private partnership project. Okay, so government will give the buildings, private players will redevelop them and will give these buildings to the migrant people at a very affordable rents. Okay, so utilizing existing government funded vacant houses to convert into affordable rental houses through public private partnership or by public agencies. And second component was that new units are to be constructed, new buildings are to be constructed. Okay, so new buildings will be constructed, operated, maintained, and this will also be the PPP model, public-private partnership model. For example, land can be given by government, construction can be done by the private entity, maintenance can be done by the private entity, and then they will take a kind of a very negligible kind of a rent. So this affordable rental housing scheme got launched as a part of a Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. But now the questions have been raised that what government has done up till now to implement this particular scheme on ground. So what has happened? So the parliamentary panel has questioned the government that you launched that scheme, affordable rental housing complex scheme. It was a ray of hope to migrant people. In this particular direction, how many of the proposals have been received? How many of the proposals for development of such complexes you have received, and how many proposals you have passed, and how many proposals got started? Now, in this particular direction, guys, in this particular direction, though this number is not very much important, but it has been provided that the Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation Ministry, the Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation Ministry provided that we received 66 proposals to develop such kind of a complexes. But parliamentary panel is now asking that, okay, how many have actually been allocated? How many have actually been allocated? Now the parliamentary committee provides that the Ministry of Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation should proactively complete all these particular affordable pro poor rental houses. So implementation has been called out. Now, that is something that should be done, and I have told you that in India the problem is not of lack of schemes, the problem is that proper implementation of schemes is not there, and this is a classic example of that particular thing. 2023 has already started, 3 years have happened, but some concrete development in this particular direction has not happened. Anyhow, guys, this particular affordable rental housing complex scheme is again very much important to solve the challenge of urbanization. Why? Because when we talk about the urbanization, guys, ease of living in urban India is very much poor, and in that particular capacity we know that urban areas are congested, people are living in slums. In these slums, problem of sanitation is there, proper necessities such as clean water, sewage connections are not there, so a lot poor living conditions are there, and these affordable rental housing complexes can provide the bare minimum necessities to these poor people who have to then live in the slum areas. So it is going to solve a very big challenge of urbanization, which has to increase. Now, understand this particular thing. Urbanization is not unique to India. Urbanization have happened in almost every country of the world. London had seen it, Chicago has seen it, New York has seen it. But why urbanization is a problem in India? Because more and more people are coming to urban cities. We don't have infrastructure to accommodate that. And what is most important infrastructure? Housing. And for that thing, these schemes such as the affordable rental housing complex scheme is very important. Okay, we can recommend it. Moreover, directly in GS paper number 2, government schemes, etc. are asked, so we can use it. Moving to next article. Okay. Now, this particular article, guys, we are going to see a lot of concepts related to prelims examination, environment and ecology, and GS paper number 3, ecology, environment, conservation. Now, first of all, let's read the heading. Heading says, Asian elephants has lost most of its optimal habitat in Nilgiri reserves. Okay. Now, what do we understand by this suboptimal? What do we need by the suboptimal habitat? What's the status of Asian elephants? Okay, and what's the study that has come which talks about the survivability of the Asian elephants? Let's take the article first. Okay, so basically, guys, here the report has been provided. So recently, what has happened? A paper, okay, a research paper, fencing can alter gene flow of Asian population within protected areas. This paper has been released in the journal Conservation. Now, this is not that much important because these things are not asked that, okay, this paper was published in which journal. No. So you don't need to simply go in this particular direction. But for prelims, we get some important substance. Now, first of all, guys, let's take some basic information about the Asian elephant. Okay, and please download this PDF because these information, much of the information that have been provided is not there in the article itself. Okay, so basically Asian elephant, guys, fine, these are the biggest elephants in the Asia. Okay, they live in grasslands, tropical evergreen forest, semi-evergreen forest, moist deciduous forest, dry deciduous forest and dry thorn forest. In largest number, Asian elephants in India are found in around the region of Western Ghats. Now, when we talk about the Western Ghats, it is an escarpment, a mountain range running from north to south along the western coastline. And in the Western Ghats, there is one particular gap, one particular pass which is being talked about here. Let's understand about that particular geographical location, and then we'll go that what the article, why the article is mentioning that thing. So basically here, if you see guys, okay, and the conservation status, the present status of the Asian elephant on IUCN red list is, it's given the status of endangered. In CITES Appendix 1, Asian elephant is listed. So CITES Appendix 1 means that it is highly protected. Export, import of this elephant is highly regulated under CITES. Okay, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, CITES. Recently, one more development I want to tell you. If you are reading newspaper, you might be knowing it also. Government is also amending the Wildlife Protection Act, and now we are also making Wildlife Protection Act compliant to the CITES. So within CITES Appendix 1 and within IUCN red list, it is given the status of endangered. Okay, now fine. So here guys, you can see a map, and you can see some dominant passes, dominant gaps that we have around the Western Ghats. Okay, so here there is, okay, different ghats that we have. This article is specifically talking about the Pal Ghat. Okay, so basically when we talk about the Western Ghats, there is a break in Western Ghats towards the southern part, and that break is Pal Ghat. And basically largest numbers of the Asian elephants in India, they are found in this particular region. Now basically the article is talking about that this Pal Ghat, a minute, yes, this Pal Ghat, it brings a break, and this region has been transformed for agriculture over the last few centuries. Now this ghat is a 3 kilometer at its narrowest point, and it's around 40 kilometer at its widest point. Now traditionally the Pal Ghat has been crossed by elephants, and they used to mingle with the other elephant community living on the other side of the Pal Ghat. Okay, for example guys, see this particular thing, that Western Ghats are there, Pal Ghat comes in between a gap, and again there is a small part of Western Ghats. Now earlier elephants, what they would have done, they would have crossed this Pal Ghat easily and would have reached to this particular part. Now because of the agriculture, this particular region is not crossable by elephants. Many number of times here man animal conflict that happens in this particular region, so elephants are not able to cross this region now. So what is happening here in the northern part of the Pal Ghat gap, there is Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Okay, so northern part of the Pal Ghat gap, there is Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. Okay, Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, and the biggest chunk of elephants are now restricted in this Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve and all other protected areas which are on the north of the Pal Ghat gap. Now this particular thing is leading to a very big problem. Number one problem, what is happening guys, that this region, the terrain towards the western side of the Pal Ghat gap, it is very rocky, basically it is mountainous terrain, and mountainous terrain is not very much suitable to the elephant because they are given very big size. If you remember, I have shown you the location. So these elephants prefer grasslands, but now they have been restricted into the mountainous regions. So there they are facing a lot of problems. Second thing is this guys, basically what is happening, as they are living in this limited region, by the way, this limited habitat in which they are living, it is called as a suboptimal habitat. So what is suboptimal habitat? Very important question for prelims. Suboptimal habitat is a restricted patch in which a particular species is captured, okay, or it is bound to live. Now there is one problem guys, problem is that basically when they are living in this particular region, their gene flow is reduced. Now when they are living in one particular place, what is happening, there is more inbreeding in this particular species will happen. Genetic diversity will go down, and if genetic diversity will go down, if any disease comes in this region and it infects elephant, almost all the population of elephant can get wiped out. Understand this particular thing, guys. See this thing, that in one particular region A, there is a particular type of a gene pool that will be prevalent. In region B, there will be another kind of gene pool that will be prevalent. Now, guys, on the basis of your gene pool, on the basis of your DNA structure, you have certain type of immunities, and at the same time you are vulnerable to some other kind of disease. Now suppose this particular kind of a gene pool, the animals here are vulnerable to XYZ disease. Okay, they are vulnerable to XYZ disease, but they have developed immunity against ABC disease. Okay, so for ABC disease, they have developed immunity, XYZ disease, they are vulnerable. Okay, now other region, if you find, then what happened here, you can find this thing, that this particular region's animal, they have developed immunity against XYZ disease and they are vulnerable from ABC disease. Okay, now if the animals from this region and this region can mate, what will happen? Their gene pool will be mixed. And more genetic diversity. The next generation that will be born, that next generation will have the genes of this also, genes of this also. And therefore, guys, what will happen? They will have better immunity to fight with the disease. But if they cannot interact, what will happen? All of the animals here will have same gene pool and all of them will be vulnerable to same disease. Same condition will happen here. And this is happening here in the Nilgiris. So basically guys, what is happening, if you see the Palghat, now Palghat has been a transition zone. Now elephants cannot cross Palghat now, and as they cannot cross Palghat now, all the animals here are all the elephants here are sharing the similar gene pool, and they are more vulnerable to now the diseases, and by that particular thing, extinction can happen. So now they are restricted to this habitat, which is called as a suboptimal habitat. So government needs to focus that the agriculture, industrial activity, other commercial activities, fine, should not threaten the survival of the elephants, Asian elephant. So this is, guys, all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood it. Okay, I hope you have understood it. Now moving to next article. So guys, here there are many articles that have come in today's newspaper, and these all articles are talking about green hydrogen. Okay, so many articles talking about green hydrogen. So first we have this article from Text and Context, India's plan to develop green hydrogen. Second article, Center plans to promote India as a global hub for green hydrogen. A green promise. This is an article that came in editorial section. Okay, and then there is one more article, huge green hydrogen subsidy distorts trade. Okay, now this article is the one which has some of different substance, but all these other articles, that is article number 1, but all these other articles, that is article number 1, article number 2 and article number 3, contains the similar kind of points. Moreover, guys, in previous class we have already discussed this green hydrogen. If you have seen, very good, please revise. Why? Because it is a very, very important topic for our examination. And if you have not seen it, please focus here. I am going to cover all the substance that has been there in these particular articles. So let's start it. Okay, by the way, we have discussed it also, so please, we'll be revising again because this is going to be a very, very important topic, and all these points we have culminated here. Okay, now guys, I have told you this particular thing, that when we talk about hydrogen, hydrogen is a very important source of fuel. Hydrogen can be a source of fuel. Secondly, we also use hydrogen a lot in industrial processes. In fertilizer industry, the hydrogen is used. Now, the point is that how we get hydrogen. Now, to retrieve hydrogen, there is a process of electrolysis that is done. What is electrolysis? Electrolysis means electricity will be used to split water in hydrogen and oxygen, and hydrogen will be retrieved. Okay, and that hydrogen can be used as a source of fuel. that hydrogen can be used in industrial processes, that hydrogen can be used in steel, cement plant, that can be used in fertilizer industry. So hydrogen is needed. Now, I told you that for procuring hydrogen, we need to carry electrolysis. Fine. Now, from this electricity is a very important source for hydrogen. Now, where this from which source this electricity is being procured, that gives a particular that will define a particular type of hydrogen. Just give me 1 minute, I'll explain you. Now, when we talk about hydrogen, guys, there are these different types of hydrogen that we have. Just a minute. Okay. For example, there is brown hydrogen. Now, brown hydrogen is produced using coal. What happens? I told you for hydrogen, we need to carry electrolysis. Electrolysis will be carried by electricity. So that electricity is manufactured by using the coal, and emissions, they are released in air. So there we get brown hydrogen. Then next is gray hydrogen. Gray hydrogen. Now again the electricity will be produced by using natural gas, and the emissions, they will be released in the air. So gray hydrogen. Then blue hydrogen. Blue hydrogen is again produced from natural gas, but the emissions, fine emissions, okay, of that natural gas, it will be captured and stored. Okay. And then we have green hydrogen. Now what is green hydrogen? In green hydrogen, electricity that will be needed for electrolysis, that electricity is deployed, or that electricity is retrieved by renewable resources, renewable sources. For example, it will be the solar electricity, it will be the wind power. Okay. And the byproducts in this particular entire process is just water and vapors, water and water vapor. The point is that while producing this green hydrogen, we are not emitting much of carbon because electricity is renewable. Secondly, then which this hydrogen can act as a fuel. This hydrogen can act as a fuel. So I have provided you this particular thing here. Okay. Just a minute. Yes. Yes. So basically, we see this particular thing that we have, the world has perfected the fuel cell technology. The fuel cell technology. Now, when we talk about fuel cell, what is fuel cell? Fuel cell is a kind of an equipment. Fine, it is a device which uses hydrogen and oxygen to generate electricity. Hydrogen and oxygen will be used to generate electricity, and the remnant will be vapor. And this particular electricity can be used to power vehicles. It can be used to power vehicles. It can be used to power buildings. There are stationary fuel cells. These stationary fuel cells can be used to power airport, railway stations, big public buildings. Okay. So point is that hydrogen can be used in industrial processes, can be used as a source of power, all these kind of things. Now, when we talk about, guys, the hydrogen, we need to enhance capacity to develop green hydrogen. Right now in world, less than 1% of hydrogen is actually green hydrogen. 99% of hydrogen is either the brown hydrogen or gray hydrogen or blue hydrogen, and substantial one is actually the brown hydrogen, where the coal is used for electrolysis. Fine. So therefore, now we have come out with the green hydrogen mission, and the Union Cabinet has decided that India will be, just a minute. So yes, Cabinet has provided this particular thing that now India aims to become a global hub to produce, utilize and export green hydrogen. In this particular capacity, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy will formulate guidelines as how the National Green Hydrogen Mission is to be implemented. Now, one more thing, guys, I want to tell you here is that here there is some updations also we have done, that right now problem with green hydrogen is this, that it is very expensive. Problem with green hydrogen is this, that it is very much expensive. Now, if I give you some data, it has been provided that right now less than 1% of global hydrogen is green. Why? Because here, if you see the cost of black hydrogen, now black or gray, brown hydrogen, it cost is around 0.9 to $1.5. Okay, but to produce green hydrogen, fine, 3.5 to $5.5 per kg costing comes. So if you will see here, it is 3 to 4 times or even 5 times expensive than brown hydrogen. So therefore countries, they mostly, if they wanted to procure hydrogen, they go for brown hydrogen, okay, which is also called as brown or black hydrogen they use. They don't go for green hydrogen. So therefore now India specifically will be focusing to develop a particular type of hydrogen, that is green hydrogen. Now on this point I want to tell you one particular thing, that in start solar tariff were also very much high. But as we increase the scale of solar power plants, today solar tariffs have come down and today they are competing with the tariffs by thermal power plant operated on coal. Fine. So if we do enough of intervention on it, if we perfect the technologies, if we scale the green hydrogen facilities, we can bring down the cost of green hydrogen and it can become a sustainable source of energy. It can become a sustainable fuel. It will help India to achieve the carbon neutrality by 2070 as well. Now, basically, the National Green Hydrogen Mission that we have launched, it has taken certain targets that are to be achieved by 2030. Number one, at least 5 million metric ton per annum hydrogen production will be done. At least 5 million metric ton per annum hydrogen production will be done, which will be associated with which will lead to capacity addition of 125 gigawatt. Okay, already we have taken target that 500 gigawatt of electricity by renewable sources is to be deployed by 2030. So this hydrogen will also lead to a capacity addition of 125 gigawatt of electricity as well, because it will power, I have told you. Now 8 lakh crore rupees, 8 lakh crore rupees are to be deployed in total investment. Now government will give around 19,500 crore rupees, and then the private sector will also bring the investment. So 8 lakh crore rupees, 8 lakh crore rupees will be mobilized. Okay, then guys, after that particular thing, it will also help in creation of 6 lakh jobs. Okay, now the jobs will be developed point for the hydrogen manufacturing. Now I have told you guys that if we want to manufacture hydrogen, we need to carry electrolysis, and for electrolysis electrolyzers are needed, and for electrolyzers manufacturing also we need trained workforce, and that workforce will also be there, which will help in generating 6 lakh jobs. It will help in reduction in fossil fuel imports of around 1 lakh crore rupees. Now we see this particular thing that today cars are being operated on petrol and diesel, but tomorrow if we are able to develop the hydrogen fuel cell technology, the cars can run on hydrogen. So therefore it will help us in reducing our forex also. Then it will help in decarbonization of industrial, mobility and energy sectors. Fine. It will also reduce our dependence. Is it clear or not? And under this particular mission, what has been how this particular mission will be operated? So strategic intervention for green hydrogen transition program, SITE program, will be taken up. Under this SITE program, financial incentives will be given for two things. Number one, for domestic manufacturing of electrolyzers. I told you electrolysis is to be carried. So for manufacturing of electrolyzers, funding will be given, and for the actual production of green hydrogen also, incentives will be given. Now the regions around the countries which are capable of supporting the hydrogen production, they will be identified. Standards for research, the regulation standard, that how this industry will be regulated. R&D, fine, joint public and private partnership for R&D will also be done. Research and development will also be done. And there is also a specifically there will be strategic hydrogen innovation partnership, SHIP, that will be facilitated, which will help in research and development. And guys, at the same time, we also going to develop the skill development program. We are also going to develop skill development program so that the trained workforce that is needed, it can be retrieved. Now here all the related ministries will come together, will converge together, and will help in achieving the targets of the National Hydrogen Mission. So guys, this is the entire thing, okay, which has been provided in all these articles, and yesterday also there was an article. Beyond that, I'm telling you, you don't need to go and see the single word, but there are certain challenges which you can find in this particular in this particular pictographic that has been given. Now the first challenge is there that India requires electrolyzers, okay, for electrolysis, but we don't have the capacity for electrolyzers now. Second thing is that basically the fuel cells that can be used in vehicles, that technology is very much nascent. We need to work on that particular technology. And thirdly, hydrogen can be explosive, okay, hydrogen leak if it comes in contact with air. If liquid hydrogen comes in contact with air, then it can be explosive. So basically the tanks in which the hydrogen will be stored, okay, that tank will increase the cost, particularly into the cars and in mobility. So this is something that we need to work upon. Now there is one more dimension, specifically that I want to talk here, is that, guys, see, just a minute. Yes. Huge green hydrogen subsidy distorts trade. Huge green hydrogen subsidy distorts trade. Now, there are many developed countries which are giving subsidies for green hydrogen. Okay. For example, I told you that electricity should be renewable. So, for renewable energy, subsidies are being given, and that subsidized renewable energy is used for electrolysis, and green hydrogen is being manufactured. So, this is indirectly a subsidy on green hydrogen. Now, obviously, if that subsidized green hydrogen is being produced by, let's say, ABC Corporation, their price of hydrogen will be less. Their price of hydrogen will be less compared to some other player who is not getting the subsidy. Now it might distort the free trade which has been envisaged under the World Trade Organization. World Trade Organization always provides this particular thing, that the subsidies which can distort the trade market, those subsidies are needed to be reduced. Now in WTO, often the question has been raised on India's subsidy program. Now we see this particular thing that we are giving a lot of subsidy on agriculture. So the challenges have been raised on that particular dimension. Okay, so therefore, guys, now India will raise this particular matter that the developed countries are giving subsidies on the green hydrogen sector, and these subsidies are in violation of WTO. Will raise this particular matter, okay, so that we get a level playing field. So this is something that has been there. And guys, beyond that, please don't go in any article on this green hydrogen, because then it will not be that worthwhile of your time. Okay, now moving to next article. Okay, why is Japan offering money to move out of Tokyo? Why is Japan offering money to move out of Tokyo? Now this particular article, guys, we will see with respect to GS paper number 1, issues related to population and development. Issues related to population and development. Now, first of all, why this particular article will make some relevance for India? It is because that I will give you first of all some data, some fact. See this particular thing, that according to UN World Population Prospect Report, according to the UN World Population Prospect Report 2022, India will become world's most populous country in 2023. India will become world's most populous country in 2023. This is number 1. Number 2, at the same time, guys, we see this particular thing, that the proportion of young people in India is increasing. The proportion of young population in India is increasing. Today, the average age of India is around 28 years. Okay, because we have young population, this young population can participate in economic activities, and because of that, an advantage will come. Economic advantage will come, because if more working class people are there, they will bring an economic advantage, and that economic advantage is called as demographic dividend. Dividend brought by favorable demography. Many times, and I have seen this thing, 90% of aspirants, they say that young people is demographic dividend. No, young population is not demographic dividend. Because of young population, when they will work and the dividend will come, that is demographic dividend. Okay, good thing. So we, India today is having young population, and because of that particular thing, demographic dividend will come. But at the same time, guys, according to recent report of NSO, National Statistical Office, on elderliness in India, it has been provided that elderliness in India is increasing at a very fast rate. So 2021 to 2031, fine, elderlyless India will increase at a very alarming rates. So therefore, in the times to come, we will have a lot of old people, number one. Number two, guys, see this particular thing. When we talk about the population growth in India, as per National Family Health Survey 5, National Family Health Survey 5, it has been provided that total fertility rate in India is 2.0. Now, according to the United Nations Population Division, replacement rate is 2.1. Now, what does it mean? It means 2.1 is replacement rate. Replacement rate means that rate of population growth at which your population will stabilize. At which your population will stabilize. If your population growth rate is above that, your population will go up, otherwise it will go down. Now, India's total fertility rate is actually 2.0, which is less than 2.1. So in a way, India's population will stabilize and will go down in the long run. Will go down in the long run. So two things are happening side by side. Number one, India's population will go down. Now, it will take some 30-40 years. Secondly, older people population will also increase. Okay. Now, this particular thing will bring a challenge that Japan is facing today. Japan is facing today. Now, let me tell you that what is this particular challenge. Now, basically, guys, here I'll tell you some of our data. So, basically, according to Japan, according to the Japan's policy document, their total population will decrease to around 90 million in 2060. So Japan's population is decreasing, number one. Number two, Japan's population is today it constitutes gray population. Gray population means old age population is increasing. Number three, Japan's population, majority of it has become urbanized, and majority of population are living in the urban cities, urban cities, townships, particularly in Tokyo. Clear? Because of that particular thing, what happened in rural areas, fine, maximum people have out migrated and rural economies are now not viable. So Japan wants that the people from Tokyo go back to the villages, go back to countrysides, they work there so that the rural economy of Japan can be revived. Is it clear? Now, all these things are happening in India also. Total fertility rate is going down. Aging population is increasing, fertility rate going down, aging population going up, urbanized population going up. Okay, these challenges might be faced in India, not today, but after 40-50 years. Is it clear or not? So we need to be ready on that particular dimension. What Japan is doing right now. Okay, so Japan has provided this particular thing that now Japan's population is going to decline. Okay, and now Japan wants to revitalize. Japan wants to revitalize its towns, its people, jobs, villages, countrysides. Okay, now according to Japan, as immigration had happened from rural area to urban area, there in rural areas, fine, there are very less number of local community members. Their numbers have decreased, and there is a shrinkage in local and small scale economic opportunities in rural areas. Okay. Now, it has been provided that once people has moved out from rural areas to the urban areas, fine, the local economies have declined. And at the same time, the urban concentration has increased at such a big level that ease of living in Japan is getting impacted. Tokyo happens to be one of the most densely populated regions of the world. So therefore, now Japan had brought a two-step strategy. Number one, what they will do? They will achieve the goal of vibrant local community. Fine, what they will do? They will ask the people that they should come back from Tokyo and they should live back in the villages. Now, by this particular thing, two things will happen. Number one, village economic life that had got declined, it will be improved. Second thing, what will happen? Overpopulation in Tokyo that has happened, it will go down. So in Tokyo, overpopulation will be reduced. In village, their economies will be restored. And for that particular thing, what Japan is doing? Japan will now pay 1 million yen or approximately 6 lakh rupees per child. Per child, 1 million yen will be given if they move out of Tokyo metropolitan area to the countryside, to the villages. So this is correction. This is correction that Japan is doing. Is it clear or not? Okay. Fine. Fine. So therefore, what has happened? Government plans to promote immigration and settlement in rural areas through policies like offering lucrative sum of money. Fine. So therefore, guys, Japanese lesson can serve an important reminder to India. What important reminder it can serve to India? It's that India is now India is facing all the traits where India might land in the situation of Japan around to 20, 60, 70, 80, 40, 40, 50 years from now. So today, India needs to plan its population policy. India needs to plan its developmental policy. India needs to focus on even distribution of resources and even development, particularly the development of backward areas. Today, when we talk about the Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, though these states are one of the most populous states, but from these states, net out migration also happens. So, regional development and a balanced development is something that we need to focus, and a lesson can be learned. Now, moving to next article. Moving to next article. Okay, so guys, this is the article from editorial section, and the article reads, stabilizing ties with Nepal in uncertain ties. Okay, now this particular article will see with respect to GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, India Nepal relations. India Nepal relations. Okay, now basically, guys, when we talk about the Nepal, okay, or for that matter all India's neighbor, we follow neighborhood first policy. And in this neighborhood first policy, India always believes in giving an accommodative arm to the neighboring countries. Now, recently what has happened? Elections in Nepal got conducted. Recently, the elections in Nepal got conducted, and recently we find this particular thing. Just a minute. We zoom properly so that you can see this particular article side by side. Yes. So now we see this particular thing, that democracy is taking root in Nepal. So Nepal has faced a lot of political instability. So from a monarchy, now Nepal has transitioned to a secular republic, and Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachand has been sworn in as 44th Prime Minister of Nepal. Now, one trend that has to be noted out of this is that Pushpa Kamal Dahal Prachand is leading Communist Alliance, and as a Communist party has come to power in Nepal, it shows that it might have ideological link with Beijing, with China, because in China also Communist Party of China is the one which rules over China. So Communist Party of China and Communist Party of Nepal might share some ideological link, and this particular thing might make Nepal more pro to China. And in this particular thing, we have seen that it might be an issue for India. Now, basically, this particular development in Nepal, where new government has been formed, India can take it in its own direction. We have seen this particular thing, that in past there are anti-India campaigns or pro-China campaigns that have been led by the leaders in the Nepal, and it has done a lot of damage to India-Nepal relations. When we talk about India-Nepal relations, the relation between India and Nepal is called as Roti Beti Ka Rishta. It is called as Roti Beti Ka Rishta. Roti Beti. Now, Roti Beti symbolizes that a large number of matrimonial alliances are there between Nepal and India, particularly the Madheshi region of Nepal and the Bihar. They have a lot of matrimonial alliances, and Roti Beti, and other is economic. A lot of people from Nepal are getting economic opportunities in India. So, economic and matrimonial relations between India and Nepal makes the relation very special one. But many pro-China leaders in the past have tried to spoil that particular relation. Now, when we talk about India, India has always focused on giving non-partisan support for inclusive economic development. Fine, irrespective of government's ideology, irrespective of leaders' ideology, we have also always focused on economic development, interdependence, communication links have been improved. Fine, people to people contacts, people to people compacts, contracts, and compulsive logic of economic complementaries. Okay, now understand this particular thing, guys. Both India and Nepal need each other. We have tried to treat Nepal as an equal partner. Hydropower agreements have also been signed between India and Nepal. So India has always believed in enhancing the capabilities of Nepal. Okay, fine. Now, at the same time, guys, now even public opinion in Nepal is changing towards China. Why? Because China in past has rigorously pursued its debt trap policy. Okay, so Chinese debt trap policy, where China, what it does, it gives unsustainable loans to underdeveloped or developing countries, and when these countries are not able to pay back their loan, China takes their strategic asset under China's control. For example, the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka, that was taken on 99-year lease by China when Sri Lanka was not able to service their debt. So debt trap diplomacy, where China gives money, traps that country under its own debt, and then takes their strategic assets or dictate on them their own policy, alliances, all such kind of a thing. People have understood this particular thing. Moreover, people have also realized this particular thing, that there is a limitations in terms of Chinese capacities in comparison to India. I told you that India has always been a very special partner to Nepal, particularly on the basis of that roti beti ka rishta. So the economic opportunities and deep matrimonial social alliances that are there with the India, they are not comparable with the China. India has a much advantage, and people have realized this thing. Moreover, China had already faced a lot of issue during the time of COVID-19 pandemic. Their cases have increased, but India at the same time, through vaccine diplomacy, vaccine Maitri, has helped Nepal. So India was there for the help when in COVID, but China itself was suffering with its own issues. So therefore, people in Nepal trust more on India. But India at the same time cannot be complacent. It cannot just be relaxed. India needs to understand this particular thing, guys. India needs to understand this particular thing, that irritants such as their India-Nepal Treaty of Peace and Friendship that we signed in 1950, border issues that we have, for example, issue on Kalapani, issue of Kalapani dispute between India and Nepal, these disputes have not been resolved and they have become irritants in the past. Again, they can become irritant. Moreover, Nepal is seeing itself as a transforming country. Nepal is seeing itself as a transforming country. Okay, and in this particular transformation, India needs to take in account the Nepal's sensitivities. Now, when we talk about, guys, India and Nepal, both India and Nepal are uniquely positioned. Now, when we talk about them, basically, guys, we see this particular thing, that economic governance, okay, human welfare, they can be some themes which can bring convergences between these two countries. So therefore, the article is talking about that now it is time that we need a fresh thinking. We need a fresh thinking, a renewed thinking on issues between India and Nepal, so that we can solve it as early as possible, so that the China doesn't take advantage in this particular situation. So we need a fresh thinking on economic recovery. Both India and Nepal needs to go for economic recovery, bilateral, sub-regional, regional cooperation, restructuring of supply chains, human security, national security, conventional security, all these particular things, people to people contacts, fine, energy cooperation, development. These are certain common themes which can be leveraged by both India and Nepal, and they can enhance their partnership, they can enhance their friendship. Now, in this particular capacity, we also need to have a mutual empathy. We need to understand each other's concern. India needs to understand Nepal's concern, and Nepal needs to understand India's concern with respect to the China. So when a mutual empathy will be there, we both will be sensitive, then only this particular relation can be prospered. Is it clear or not? That is all, guys, about this particular article. And now we'll move to the next article. Okay. Now, taking the article. So first of all, let's read the heading of this particular article, and then we'll go in detail in this particular article. So article is taken from editorial section, and it reads, towards making India an uplinking hub. To make India, towards making India an uplinking hub. Now this particular article we'll see with respect to GS paper number 3. GS paper number 3. Sectors of economy. And within the sectors of economy, how the media's economic potential, media's economic potential we can reap here. This particular dimension we are going to see here. Now this is a very fresh kind of an article which usually doesn't comes in the newspapers. Okay, let's take the article now. Now before going in this particular article, guys, I would like to just recall one of a topic that we have discussed, I think, a few weeks back. Okay, now basically, So I'll talk on that particular topic, but let me give you some of context of this particular article first. Now, basically, in last 2 years, there are multiple developments that have happened on the front of media, on front of television industry in India. These two developments are: number one, what happened in 2021, cable television network rules 1994, they got amended, and now a mechanism for redressal of grievances and complaints have been provided. Now suppose you are seeing a serial on Star Plus or some channel, and there is some show, this is showing some incident by which your sentiments have got hurt, so you can raise a complaint against the TV broadcasters. You can ask for a grievance redressal, and that mechanism have been provided by the Cable Television Network Rule Amendment 1994, which came in 2021, last to last year. Then second development that we have seen is that recently Union Cabinet have approved guidelines for uplinking and downlinking of television channels from India. Now this proposal we have discussed multiple times just last to last month when it got passed. Okay, let's discuss little bit about the uplinking and downlinking. What is this uplinking and downlinking? Let's discuss this. So basically, guys, there is a satellite. There is a satellite. Let's say in geostationary orbit, there is a satellite. Okay, then there will be a facility, uplinking facility, and then there will be a downlinking facility. Okay, fine. Let's see this particular thing. So let's say there is a TV show. Okay, Sasural Simar Ka. Sasural Simar Ka. Okay. Now the producers of Sasural Simar Ka has made a fresh episode. Okay, in that episode, Simar is going some existential threat. Now I want to see that serial on my TV in my home. So what will happen? The Sasural Simar Ka will be uplinked. It will be uplinked. Okay, and that satellite will downlink that Sasural Simar Ka episode on my TV. Is it clear or not? So we have dish cables in our roofs. So these dish cables will help in transmission of that downlink. So today, all the TV shows, all the Big Boss and all these serials that you are seeing, how it is happening? First of all, these shows are uplinked and then they are downlinked. And this uplinking and downlinking happens through the broadcast satellites for television and media that are there. Is it clear or not? Now, recently, the uplinking and downlinking rules have got changed. We liberalized these rules more. Earlier, for example, if you need to uplink a program, if you need to live broadcast a program, a special permission was needed from the government. Okay. Moreover, if a foreign channel wants to come in India and they want to uplink the program from India, okay, they want to uplink a program for India, then again, a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of red tapeism was there. But now we have brought reform in uplinking and downlinking. For example, for live broadcast, special permission is not needed. Foreign broadcasters can uplink their programs from India. For that particular thing, the convenience have been reduced. So this is something that has happened. Okay, so uplinking, downlinking guidelines have recently been released by the Union Cabinet. Now, these particular two policies have actually helped a lot. Now understand this second policy, uplinking and downlinking, it is very important. Why? Because government is now thinking to make India as a global teleport hub. Okay, global hub for uplinking. Okay, now brief journey of Indian television we are going to see here with respect to the broadcasting in India. Now see this particular thing, guys, that when we talk about India, the television started in India in 1959. Fine, television started in India in 1959. And when we talk about the broadcast, okay, at that point of a time, Doordarshan was the only channel. Broadcast was completely under the control of state. Only Doordarshan you can see. But what happened? During this particular time, the satellites were being launched by the different countries, Russia, US and other developed countries as well. And what happened in early 1990s? Cable television arrived in India. Cable television arrived in India. Now what happened? Basically, the foreign channels, they used to uplink their program, the foreign programs, and those programs can be can be broadcasted back in India. Okay, so this cable operations, they started to thrive. Cable TV came in India. Now, basically guys, this cable networks mushroomed, but the foreign television networks invaded our culture. They were showing their programs, okay, because in India we did not had any such kind of an capacity. So therefore guys, what happened, India came with Cable Television Network Regulation Act 1995. Is it clear or not? Fine. And then in 2000, the first license to set up a teleport, fine, was given. Now, understand this particular thing, guys, that after 1990s, we found this particular thing that Indian channels also came. Indian channels, Star Network, Z Network, they started to come after 1990. But understand this thing, that if they have to broadcast their TV shows, their serials, they have to record it on the tape. The tape was to be flown to Hong Kong, Singapore, Moscow, and from there these particular shows were downlinked. Okay, fine. So uplinking and downlinking happened in Hong Kong, Singapore, Moscow. So therefore, operating a television channel was very expensive at that point of a time, and it was very much tedious. Okay, so broadcasting became very expensive. Okay, so therefore guys, what happened, we came with the downlinking from Indian soil in 2000. What happened? In 2000, we came a downlink and uplink from Indian soil. So what happened? Uh, Videsh Sanchar Nigam Limited, VSNL, Videsh Sanchar in Indian Limited, it provided that uplink can be done for the TV programs from India. And Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, it notified the guidelines for uplinking from India in 2000, and then in 2000 broadcasters got a permission that they don't need to fly out their tapes to some other countries. All these uplinking, downlink or uplinking can happen in India only. So this is something that has happened. Now, in this particular direction, Ministry of Information Broadcasting also issued uplinking and downlinking guidelines in 2011, okay, which happened. But now there was more relaxation that was needed in this particular law. And here what has happened, basically, now we have come out with such kind of an amendment. Now the article is, guys, talking about this particular thing, that when we talk about the environment for uplink, downlink, it is a very big industry that has now a lot of potential. We need to create a conducive environment. We need to create a conducive environment with respect to the ease of doing business. A lot of permissions, a lot of regulation should not be there. Any, let's say, African broadcasting company, let's say any Nepali broadcasting company, okay, or many such countries are there which don't have capacity to uplink. They can come in India, as India used to go to Singapore, Moscow to uplink their programs. Now these countries can come India and can uplink programs from India. So India can become a teleport hub. And for making teleport hub, we need to bring relaxations with respect to the licenses, approvals, permission, which has already happened. So this is, guys, all about this particular article. Fine. Now we'll move to next article. Okay. Fine. Now this particular article, guys, just we have taken few days back. Okay. Freedom in authority. Freedom in authority. Now this particular article we'll see with respect to GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, issues of polity, the scope of fundamental rights. Now, what is this particular issue, guys, is all about? We have discussed it 2 days back as well. Now, what has happened? Basically, recently, Supreme Court has given a judgment on one very important matter, and the matter was with respect to the freedom of speech of ministers. Freedom of speech of ministers. We have seen this particular thing that many number of times minister make certain comments, they make certain statements which are oriented towards a particular religion, particular caste, particular set of people, and often these speeches are hate speeches, these speeches are inflammatory speeches. So therefore, a petition was raised in the Supreme Court that can ministers be held, can ministers be imposed some additional restriction, can they be imposed some additional restriction while exercising their freedom of speech and expression? Number one. Number two, if they have made any statement, can government be held responsible for that particular thing? You might have heard about the idea of collective responsibility. So Council of Ministers are a team. They swim and they sink together. Okay, guys, I hope that the stream is clear. Yes, guys, the stream is clear. I hope. Can you confirm me? Guys, the stream is clear or not? Can you confirm me? Okay, so basically we have seen this particular thing that the next issue that comes in this particular direction is that can ministers be sorry, can government be held responsible for ministers if they have made any kind of a statement? Okay, now this matter is to Supreme Court and Supreme Court has now given the judgment. Okay, so five judge bench was there, and out of the five judge, four benches have given the majority judgment and one judge has given a dissenting judgment. Now, what is this particular judgment? Basically, it has been provided by the four judges that additional restrictions on ministers' free speech cannot be imposed. Okay, so it has been provided by Supreme Court that there is no reason to impose additional restrictions on the right to free speech by the ministers. Fine. Secondly, they have provided this particular thing that government is not liable for disparaging remarks. Government is not liable. Government cannot be held responsible for the comments and the statements that have been made by ministers. Okay, so government cannot be held responsible. These four judges have provided this particular thing that the concept of collective responsibility cannot be applied to the statements made by minister. Supreme Court has provided that now we find this particular thing that the coalition governments are being formed, and in coalition different political parties come together and they form a government. Different political parties will have different ideologies, and all the ministers from these different political parties, when they have come, they might have different mindset and they can make some statement. Government cannot be held responsible even if they have made some statement if they have made statement to for the government also, then also they cannot be held responsible. This is something that has been provided. It has been provided that the prime minister or the chief minister does not have any disciplinary control over the members of council of minister. They cannot control them. Okay, so therefore they will not have a they cannot be held responsible, and it's not needed that a special limitation is imposed on them. Okay, now at the same time, guys, one of our dissenting judge, that is Justice B.V. Nagaratna, had said this thing that no, they should be held responsible, and Justice B.V. Nagaratna has also provided this thing that no, additional restrictions should also be there. Okay, so this is, guys, all about this particular article. Now we have seen this particular thing that the majority declined to expand the idea of collective responsibility. Already we have seen here. Then the court has restated and clarified the constitutional tort. Okay, constitutional tort. Now, what is the constitutional tort is? Basically, the tort laws provides that to an extent which a party can be held accountable for their actions. Now, constitutional tort. Now, here it has been provided that statement by a minister that goes against an individual's fundamental right. Statement by a minister that goes against an individual's fundamental right may not be actionable, but becomes actionable if it results in actual harm or loss. If statement has been given by minister and nothing happened, no problem. But if statement has been given by minister and some actual harm happened, riot happened, some injury happened, then the minister can be held responsible. So this clarification has been given. Is it clear? So this is something. Now, guys, you don't need to go too much in legal terminology, that the torts law, constitutional tort. Fine, not important. Why? Because understand, we need to read polity, but we don't need to specialize in law. Okay, so therefore I'll not advise you to go too much into the detail. Okay, that is all about it. And now moving to the next article, strategic dialogue, India and France share views on security and defense cooperation. So basically, guys, recently National Security Advisor has held a round of Indo-French strategic dialogue. So Indo-French strategic dialogue has been held. Indo-French strategic dialogue has been held. Now, when we talk about India and France, guys, understand this thing. India and France has a lot of convergences. For example, India and France both talks about the rule-based order in Indo-Pacific. France has recently released their strategy document in Indo-Pacific region. Both are the partners under the International Solar Alliance and talk about renewable energy. Defense cooperation is there. Rafale jet we are procuring from France. Okay. So basically, the India and France has shared a special relation. And to further enhance that particular relation, Indo-French strategic dialogue is held from time to time between India and France. Okay, now 36th round has been held, and both of the sides have discussed the issues on global security situation, fine, Ukraine, Russia-Ukraine war, regional security situation in Afghanistan, counter-terrorism, cyber security, defense cooperation in Indo-Pacific region. Okay, these issues have been discussed. Okay, at the same time, guys, basically the France has also emphasized that India relation with India is based on exceptional mutual trust, democratic values, traditions, common traditions that we have. Both propagate the democratic traditions. So this is something. Much substance is not there in this particular article. Just a round of meat has happened, and actually, guys, this is a 36th Indo-French strategic dialogue that has happened. Now, such dialogues at multiple levels are happening. It is a very regular kind of an occurrences that happened. Now, some broad, fine, for example, if there is some kind of a strategy document that has been signed by the Prime Minister and the President of France, Prime Minister of India and President of France, that is something which you need to go too much in detail. Is it clear? Fine. That is all about it. And now we come to the mains practice question. Fine. So question reads, India and Nepal need to jointly rethink economic governance and a view to enhance human welfare. Examine. So this will be a 10 marker question for GS paper number 2 IR. Okay. Try to attempt this particular question. So that is all, guys, about the today. And if you have any doubt, now you can put forward your doubt. And meanwhile, a very good morning to all of you. Ravi, Bhagyashri, Mailari, Eliminati, Muzammil, Durga, Lifeology, Radhika, Ashita, Snehika, Akash, Muthu, Fazil, Nivetha, Kanika, Kajal, Athira, Rijojos, Priya, Pavan, Sneha, Shiv, Prashant, Shyam, Yasu, Sham, Muzammil, Prashant, Manjulal, Aman Raj, Prashant, Success Point, Niharika, Amber, Pallavi, Sundari, Satish, Aditya, Sandeep, Nikita, Govinda Go, Shubham, Lakshmi, Richa, Vipin, Shakti Priya, Guru Prasad, Afsa, Rojgar, Devendra, Shri Prasad, okay, Deepak Kumar, Manju, Arzu, Pratap, Shrija, MS, Deepu, Asai, Jalaj, Rapula, Anuj, Asmita, Nagror. Is there any country which is following this green hydrogen gas? Fine, many countries are manufacturing green hydrogen, but the share is not that much. Sharon, Richa, Akio, Motivation, Naviram. According to Worldometer, India will cross China in population only after 2025 because the current differences between India and China in population is almost 4 crores, so it is difficult. Yes, therefore I have given the reference of World Population Prospect report. According to them, that is there. But however, some differences and perceptions can be there, not an issue. Arjun, Basu, Malik, Sandeep, Rajeshwari, Ankar, UPSC, Avnesh, Priyali, Kajal, okay, Radhika, Rajeshwari, Vijay, Shivam, News, Nitesh, Ritika, Bharat, Akash, Ashwin, okay, Kaliel. Okay, so guys, thank you all. Doesn't allowing foreign universities in India affect our sovereignty? How it affects our sovereignty? We are allowing it. Okay, industries are coming, fine. So how it does affect sovereignty? We are not doing it by the compulsion of any other country. Okay, so that is all, guys, about it. Now we'll meet tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.